Alright, so this is going to be the final video in this series, and I'm going to cover two topics here, security and SEO, and then e-commerce. So let's talk about security first. There are many things you can do in the settings just in general for security. I would definitely turn off membership. Anyone can register if you do not have the sort of site that, requires doing that, registration sort of thing. That way people have to register, through a certain setup, going through and making sure that reading and commenting, if you don't actually need it, are turned off is good. You also want to make sure search engine visibility is turned on so that people can see it. But under discussion here, closing off comments after 14 days will prevent spam bots from finding it, making sure you have to approve a comment, doing some options here, making sure that it is not just open for anybody to comment on any page will help. That is, kind of commenting 101. But then a lot more of security comes in through things you have turned on and set up, like CAPTCHAs. Bringing a Google reCAPTCHA through a plugin if you have commenting is very good. One of the things that I do for everybody, because it is one of the best ways to stop the easiest automated spam attacks. That is changing the login URL. Now this option is not there by default. There's a plugin that does this, and it is named Rename Login PHP. I have worked it into some custom coding in here that I do on a login plugin for all my clients, but here is the one you would want to be looking for, rename-wplogin.php, and this just lets you change it to something else. Even changing it to /login makes it easier for protection. It means that if you go to, the actual admin site, trying to attack that without actually being logged in first through that login, it will not let you do that. So once you change it to something else, that is where you have to kind of remember, oh no, it is that login URL that you've got set up. You can also, if you want login, there are some social media login plugins that let people log in with their social media, but just making it so that this is harder to find for an automated bot is a #1 step. The other things you can do for security, you can install something like Stop Spammers plugin. That is a good one that prevents a lot of issues, puts it up to a honeypot, allows you to turn on a lot of automatic blocking options. Now you have to be kind of careful with that in making sure that nothing is really blocking legitimate users. This is bad behavior, another one that I use on different sites. It logs requests, it has a honeypot key, you can turn on different things. Stop Spammers has a couple of different options. Log who's actually trying to get, 380 access attempts, who's trying to actually log in. So something like that is good. Another one is called Word Fence. Word Fence is one that turns on a lot of different different options, but it is one that I turn on, I use the scanning features of, I check everything out, and then I turn it off again unless I need a firewall, because it tries to do a lot of different things to say, hey, now buy our pro version, hey, now buy our pro version. So WordFence is a good one for scanning, but there are a lot of these options that I would not use most of the time, unless I know it's being particularly attacked right then. So another very good one that I use is called Accutenix Security. Accutenix Security works a little differently, but what Accutenix WP Security is the name of it now. What it does and what I like about it is it checks your WordPress install to tell you whether something should be set up, and if you have blocked off common venues of attack. So it just kind of checks it over and says, hey, you should do these things. And then you can kind of, yes, hide the WordPress version. Yes, turn this off. Hide the admin notifications from ever. It's a very good security cleanup. Sometimes I manually go through and do these things. Sometimes I let it do those things. But it is another very good one for security. All right, SEO. SEO is hard. I have marketing friends who are constantly telling people how hard it is to actually get SEO and to get found. A lot of what it's about is the content anymore. Google is constantly doing things that are trying to block it off. It's because they don't want people tricking and spamming SEO. The days of putting a big long list of tags are well over, and so are so many of the other options that are, kind of tricking. What you can do, though, is install Google Analytics so Google can actually read your site, and a lot of people just buy their data from Google. You can also go and set your site up in Google Webmaster. Google Webmaster allows you to see and do different things and make sure your site is indexed. You can ask and require them to do different sort of stuff. So let's see. All right, here's Gnome Stew for Google Webmaster. You can see if it's crawled it. You can see what kind of search analytics there are. You can do search appearance. You can check out search traffic. It'll tell you what kind of HTML highlights improvements you can do. You can find links to your site, who's linked through to your site most recently, and then you can request a crawling of the site to see how many errors and do, crawl through this site again to try to get the latest, most interesting information. It'll test your robots.txt. This is one of the things you can do to make sure, go through and make sure your site is set up here so that Google can search through it. And then it is all about getting the content and making it so that is relevant to people who might be searching for it. So if you're, looking up sci-fi RPG, Google's going to try to find the most visited ones. Here's a Geek and Sundry, here's Gamers Decide, here's Wikipedia. You're probably going to do better, sci-fi RPG, tabletop. The more down sort of the funnel you go, by seeing who has different information out there and which, seeing who is kind of claiming that space. So sci-fi RPG brings up video games. Sci-fi tabletop RPG, brings up more here. But you're not going to be able to crack a lot of these because it is generally all about traffic and how people go and see it, and what Google thinks is most relevant based on the content. So Geek and Sundry, of course, pulls in a lot because they have a high throughput of people actually looking at their stuff. So if there were, let's see, Numenera, because that is popular, they have a throughput. Numenera.com is one of the common ones when I search that, because it's a unique name, but because it is in the domain name, it gets pulled up a lot more. MontyCookGames.com does not go over Numenera on Wikipedia because Wikipedia gets a lot more traffic. And then as you scroll down, you can see kind of based on traffic or based on how well visited or where Google thinks it ranks, where this where they fall into it. So you're not going to get down to a lot of other sort of things unless you are searching for, Numenera review. Then Numenera is not going to come up because you're not looking for Numenera, the site. You're looking for the review. So SEO is a constantly losing battle, but you can try to do a few things with that. There are SEO plugins out there. Yoast is one of the popular ones, but I don't personally find it to be enough benefit to pull them in. A lot of these ones are using such outdated stuff based on what friends of mine who do marketing solely do. Yoast is the main plugin out there for this sort of stuff, and it will try to optimize it. The most important thing with it is kind of where it says page analysis and says this is, oh hey, did you do this? Do you have this sort of information? But a lot of the stuff you see from this is just, if it's working now, it won't be in a week. XML sitemaps are super important. Making sure you've got the correct content and data. Keyword density is something people still talk about if you're focusing on certain keywords. I would love to be able to tell you more important information about SEO, but it is not very easy, and I don't know that you get a ton of return on the investment from a web development perspective.